You called down the thunder, well now you got it. You see that? It says United States Marshal.
Wyatt, please don't kill me, please. Please.
Take a good look at him, Mike, because that's how you're gonna end up. The Cowboys are finished, you understand me? I see a red sash, I kill a man wearing it. So run, you cur. Run! Tell all the other curs the lie's coming! You tell them I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Hey everybody, Taz from Critical Thinking Anarchist here, and I wanted to play that clip because it's kind of how I feel right now. I'm sure most of you already know about Charlie Kirk here. This one hit hard. I don't know why, and I'm hearing that from a lot of people that we don't understand why this one hit hard. It's a crazy thing. You know, one of the big things about Charlie Kirk here is that he, you know, a lot of people consider him the best of us. I don't know that he was the best necessarily, but one thing that you can say about him is that he put himself out there. You know, unlike so many conservative voices who sit behind keyboards on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, who kind of sit there and they say their own thing, and when they're done posting their stuff, they're done. Talk show hosts, on radio, on TV, podcasters, whatever, they the only way you're going to talk to them is if they invite you. Where Charlie Kirk put himself out there for everybody, whether you agreed with him or not. And a lot of times the people he put himself out in front of were people who didn't agree with him. And that makes him way more brave than many of us. So, I don't know. To me, and granted, of course, I'm not old enough for this. To me, between Trump's attempted assassination and Charlie Kirk's assassination, this kind of feels like a JFK, MLK moment. Trump wasn't supposed to live. He was not supposed to make it. And of course, now they can't go after him because line of succession. If they go after Trump, well, then the presidency just falls to Vance. It doesn't fall to anybody that they might agree with. And Charlie Kirk, he did espouse peaceful discourse. Now he was big on debate, which, a lot of people are like, well, we should debate everything. I don't know that we should debate everything, everything, because that's adversarial. And I don't know that we want to be adversarial. But he didn't just debate in his debates, oddly enough. He actually tried to have discussion a lot of times. And I think that's what we used to have. We used to have discussion. You have debates between political opponents, but when you're talking to regular people, you don't debate them. You discuss. Sometimes it ends up into a debate, but you're just exchanging ideas. You're just exchanging what's going on. And it's even more unfortunate that, of course, today is a day of solemnitude. I don't know. I don't know what best to say on that. I don't think most people in the United States, let alone the world, are bad people by any means. I think most people probably have no idea who Charlie Kirk even is, why this is such a big deal, why it matters. Um, and unfortunately, they're getting their information from corporate media, who will say, "Oh, he was a right wing conservative uh, activist or pundit or whatever." And while yes, most of his views were right wing, um, he genuinely loved talking to people. By most accounts from others, and of course I've never met him, I've never talked to him. Oddly enough, I didn't even follow him on social media, and that's why it's kind of weird for me, and even my wife said the same thing. Why it's weird that it's hitting us so hard, because I mean, I've watched some of his debates, I've watched some of his programs, and they were entertaining, to be sure. And I respected the man that he talked. I respected that he used his words to try and get people out in the open. I mean, and it's kind of one of those things that Steven Crowder, I don't know if he still does it, but Steven Crowder used to do, where he would kind of do that same thing. You'd get people to come up to him and debate him or talk to him, or tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me what you think. Where Charlie Kirk was still doing that. And I think probably the biggest reason why it does hit so hard is because he was just a normal guy. I mean, yes, he became famous, obviously, but he wasn't, he wasn't a politician. He wasn't a businessman, so to speak. He wasn't a CEO of anything. I mean, he probably is of Turning Point. But I mean, he wasn't like he wasn't a big name power player. He was just basically a regular guy who didn't like what was going on. And a lot of people are angry and confused right now. As we should be, I think. I think we should be angry and confused. I mean, not necessarily confused, but we should be angry. And of course, you have a certain amount of people calling for gun reform because this is gun violence. It's like, no, this is not gun violence. This is not a random person who shot Charlie Kirk on the street. This isn't just some random person who happened to have some sort of weapon on him. This was meticulous. It was planned. It was, it's an assassination. Charlie Kirk didn't die from some unrelated thing. He wasn't killed. He was, but he wasn't killed. And to me, in these types of contexts, killing is kind of a random act. He wasn't murdered, and again, he was, but he wasn't murdered. Murdered, even intentional murder, to me is kind of it's personal. Even with a gun, it's personal. He was assassinated from afar. I don't know. It's kind of a random thing here. I'm going to be launching a few things over. I'm going to try and get as much as I can done today, but I've also have, I got my regular job that I got to do. I'm going to try and launch something today, positively. I think the world needs more positivity. But like I said, this feels like our JFK, MLK moment, or John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King moment. So who is our Malcolm X? I don't think violence is the right way forward on this. But I will say, for too long, the average everyday person has allowed all this to happen. We allowed things to go on. We let the Rodney King thing go. And yes, I'm talking, this has been a long time coming. A long time coming. We let the Rodney King thing go. No, that's not us. This is very much the, when the such and such came for the, when they came for the Jews, I did not speak up for, I was not a Jew. When they came for the, the Protestants, I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Protestant. When they came for the Lutherans, I didn't speak up because I was Lutheran. When they came for the Catholics, nobody was around to help me. And it kind of feels like that. We didn't say anything 40 years ago when that was going on. We didn't say anything, when and I mean, that's not entirely true, but I mean, as a society, we let that happen. We let Brooklyn fall. A lot of areas in New York City, we let them fall. We let Detroit fall. We let Baltimore fall. We let Minneapolis fall. I used to be very much, as they would say, an old school liberal, I guess. Independent, I always called myself, but once independent became a party, I didn't consider myself even an independent. Fiscally conservative, socially liberal. I wanted small government, but I wanted government to protect the outside people. I had no problem with anybody who was a different skin color than I was, who was a different nationality than I was. I didn't have a problem with somebody who had a different sexual orientation than I did. I cheered on gay marriage, and I was even for gay people adopting children. I didn't see any issue with that. For the most part, I still don't, but the problem is, it isn't just a normal gay people anymore. Now you have activists in this. Now you have mentally ill people doing these things. I didn't have a specific problem with people who cross-dressed. What you do in your own home is your own thing. My whole thing had always been, leave the kids alone. Leave the kids alone. What you do as an adult with another consenting adult, that's up to you. That's up to you. And that's the way it should be. What consenting adults do in their own home should never be an issue. But we didn't speak up on so many other things. We've been kind of speaking up over the last 5 years, maybe 10. But of course, it's already come so far. And it's come so far that you have other gays and lesbians and people who fought for their rights during the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s and early 2000s saying, "What are you doing?" And it's very much, you give an inch, you take a mile. They're like, this was never what we're fighting for. We never fought for this. This was not supposed to be the thing. And a lot of them have started turning. The thing that yesterday's assassination does, I hope, is it turns a lot of people. A lot of people look in the mirror and see, what have they been fighting for? What have they gained? What have they lost? That's a bigger one. What have you lost as a result of the few things that you've supposedly gained? We need something. We need a direction. Today is probably not going to be that day because it is September 11th. It's a day of remembrance of a lot of fallen people, 24 years past. Unfortunately, a lot of people have forgot September 11th. Charlie Kirk's death should be an awakening for both of those. When I do get this next thing launched, I will post it on X, Twitter, I will likely make another YouTube video of it. In the meantime, let me know what you guys think. You know, do you have any answers? I don't right now. I don't know why I'm reeling so hard on this, but I don't have any answers. But if you do, any comments at all, you know, put them in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Hopefully my next one is a lot more positive and happy. I will see you then. You take care. Bye for now.